Welcome back to the Refocus Podcast. And today we got Rebecca. She is my trusty sidekick.
No, wrong.
And
Incorrect.
we also got a special guest. You ready? You're gonna put your hands together for this person. Ready? Drum roll. Jacob Orian.
Woo!
Our chaplain, our school chaplain.
Our student chaplain.
And today, we're gonna talk about burnout. So all of us have been in campus ministries for quite a while, I'd say. I mean, you guys have been in for what?
Every year.
Every year.
Yep.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
And Mick is looking at us through the window.
Hi, Mick.
Hi, Mick.
Hi, man.
Shout out on the podcast.
Even though every time we record with him, it never works.
He's bad luck. This is our third time trying to record our first episode.
Yes. Full episode.
Full episode. Incredible.
But back to the topic. Like I was saying, yeah, we've been in campus ministries for quite a while. Jacob, you started out doing music.
Yep.
Right. And how about you just tell us a little bit about like your starting?
Okay, so I learned to play guitar in 7th grade. End of 6th grade, beginning of 7th grade, I was at summer camp and inspired by Jordy Obregon to learn how to play the guitar at Broken Arrow Ranch. He was awesome. He was my camp counselor, and he played all the music on his guitar, and it was awesome. So I decided to begin in guitar lessons, and over the course of that year, I jumped back and forth between styles, between finger picking and electric guitar, learning some of those songs. The famous songs, learned a couple of those, and that was all fun. I wish I knew how to play them still, but I don't. And I focused a lot on chords, learning how to play worship music, and just going through easy songs online, just learning how to play different chords and strumming patterns, so I'd be able to be just like him and be able to lead worship music. And so that brought me to freshman year when Emma Bermeo, the music team leader at that time, my freshman year, she knew that I had learned how to play guitar and basically recruited me to join to be able to help them out during retreat. And so, there we were. I had joined their group and was learning how to play even more difficult worship songs, getting ready for retreat and different set lists and all of that. And it was awesome. I didn't have any of the stress that came with leadership. I was just handed the sheet of paper, and it was, here are the words, here's the chords, and you just go, right? And so that was awesome. It's just a lot of jamming, and that was fun. Then she was a senior that year, so she left, and I was a sophomore, and I became the music leader. And thankfully, I wasn't tossed in the deep end. She had showed me fourth quarter of school how to, what to do and how to figure it out. And so, yeah, sophomore year, myself and Milka led the music team, and same with last year, my junior year. Just figuring out what we do best and how to lead together and how to bring students to Jesus through that. And at the end of my sophomore year, that was a discouraging point in my life. We had done so much music and had felt students that didn't enjoy singing and listening to us, and they they made that very clear that they didn't like singing. And so that was a big struggle figuring out. I talked to Mick a lot about whether I wanted to lead music junior year last year or not, and I did. I was encouraged by knowing that some of the incoming freshmen were individuals that enjoyed singing, at least that's what it seemed, and that they would kind of have a little bit of a culture change, per se, at CVA, and that it would turn around. And it did for a little bit, until, stress of school happens and people decide to take their stress out on other things. And so I feel like some of that stress was taken out when it came to when people are up front, and if they, do something wrong or anything along those lines that they start disliking whatever's happening up front, and they disengage and they start distracting their friends, and they'll be on their phone, and they just do all that they can to show you that what you're doing is not, well, how I perceive that whatever you're doing is not good enough
Right.
to capture their attention, and it's just not worth their time to engage with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that led me to a place which I describe as burnout, which is our topic for today, as Andrew mentioned previously.
Right. So you mentioned so when you were starting to experience the burnout, you mentioned talking to Mick. So like what exactly, so obviously you're like you just felt discouraged.
Yep.
I guess kind of disappointed in the people that you were
Ministering to.
right in front of. So how did you, besides just talking to Mick, like on your own time, how did you overcome it? Like, did you take breaks? Did you, I guess, talk to other people about it? Like, what was your, I guess, step by step?
Before we get too far into this, I think it might be helpful to kind of read out the definition of burnout for people who are lucky enough to not know what it is. So, burnout is defined as a state of mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion that can be caused by chronic stress. This says particularly in the workplace, but I would assume it's also in school. So, like emotional exhaustion, you just don't want to deal with anyone, you're tired all the time. You can have physical symptoms like physical pain, again, tiredness, dizziness. You want to distance yourself from people. You become very negative. You're just not as efficient in your tasks, and you just kind of have loss of interest and hope, and loss of hopefulness.
Okay. So the gist of that is very, very short. What would you say is?
Very short. I would say just kind of, it's almost like depression, like stress-induced depression.
Okay, yeah, I like that way to put it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Just feeling like you don't want to do it.
Just kind of losing all
anymore.
motivation.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Okay. Now back to Andrew. You said, how did I deal with it?
Yeah, how did you like cope with it? Like what were things that you found worked for you and might work for other people?
Funny enough, it was probably playing music.
Yeah.
So the ministry that I was somewhat trying to get out of was also the thing that brought me back into it.
Right.
Which is kind of interesting, but whenever I got a chance, it's always nice, when you can play an instrument, so you can just do it all by yourself. You just sit down wherever you can. I unzip my guitar case, grab it, make sure it's in tune before I do anything else, and then I'll just go on my phone to a song I like and just start playing. And, sometimes I won't sing out loud. I'll just think of it, the words in my head and whatnot, but just being able to say, like, hey, I enjoy this, and so it doesn't matter if people in the audience are clapping off
Right.
beat on purpose, or if they're on their phones and laughing and disrupting each other, because at the end of the day, it's helping me in my relationship with God. So if they don't want to engage in it, then that's fine. Maybe they find more value in what the speaker has to say.
Right.
Something like that.
That's
Looking on the bright side.
It's a good perspective to have.
Looking on the bright side.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I'm the same way. I guess now I'm in your shoes. I
Yep.
have started to lead praise team, which I've always wanted to do, and this year our big goal is Milk and I have talked about is like we don't want to create such a big burnout, because for us we were doing good at the beginning of the year. I'm not gonna lie, I felt really good. I felt like music was going really well.
Yeah.
And but I agree with you. Towards the end, like midway through the year, it was kind of slowing down for us, and we felt again very discouraged. Which talking to Mick did help. We're in some of the meetings with you two, you and Milka last year, and I think we would all agree that we were all burnt out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We just didn't have a motivation to keep going because
Right.
it's like, well, if no one's paying attention to you or singing along or whatnot, then why do what you're doing?
What's the point?
And I like what you're saying, where you're like, well, we're not doing it for them, we're doing it for ourselves. I mean, obviously, yes, it's our ministry, right? That's what we're doing. But if they don't want to connect, that's totally okay too. I mean, we're in a faith where we don't force people to be upon. We don't force people to believe in what we do. I mean,
Right.
it's we have a God that gives us choice in everything we do, right? And so if it's just not their day, if it's just something they don't want to do, then that's their decision, right?
Right.
And in reality, it's not just a team building thing for the praise team, but also it's to build your spirits up even more.
Yeah.
And we had talked to Miss Cross, who very disappointed that you left, but
We miss you so
we-
much, Cross.
we still love you, and we would love to have you back. Well,
Come back.
come back, open arms.
Come back.
Yeah.
But she was like, if you want them to participate, it's a lot of work, right? But instead of giving 100%, or like you guys are kind of at, she was like, you guys are giving about 80%, not
Right.
even, like maybe 60 to 80%, right?
Right.
She said you need to give 110% for them to even give you about 80% of that back, right? And so that opened a bunch of our eyes, because we went to a Maverick City concert,
That was huge.
That was awesome.
and that was
Yeah.
an amazing experience. I would love to go back.
Oh, yeah.
But I just felt moved. Like, I remember one of the big things were they had ended all of their songs. It was the end of the set list, and everyone was still there. And we're like, well, is it over? And
Yeah.
everyone starts chanting, one more song, one more song. And they come back out and they play
Man of Your Word,
Man
wasn't
of Your
it?
Word.
I think
Yeah.
so.
And that was a very, like,
It was a great experience. yeah.
moving, it was really moving, and I felt like I've never experienced something like that, and then it motivated us, like, we want that experience for
The
the
students.
people who we're playing music for. And we don't just do it for students, we also will do church, and we'll do other things, like we'll go to the assistant living homes,
Right.
and we'll play for them, but it's
Other
also
events, yeah.
we want to create somewhere, an environment where people enjoy praising the Lord. So I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah, my favorite part about that concert was it didn't feel like they were performing. It just felt like we were all worshiping
Right.
together, which was like, I'm like, wow, this is like what heaven's going to be like. It was awesome.
I definitely agree. I mean, like for the youth, I guarantee you, if we asked almost anyone in this school, they're gonna say music is how they worship, because I think the moving around and being able to sing and being able to praise out loud is kind of what the youth is all about right now. Because I'm not saying anything about the older side, but like it seems like if you go back to other generations before us, it's like, okay, well they found connecting to God in Bible verses and stuff like that, which is not bad, right?
Right.
But for us, it's the meaning behind the song. It's the words that are saying, right? And it's, for teenagers, we like things that are catchy, right? And that's what singing is. I mean, I think God is one of them. That
Yeah.
it's played too much, but we all enjoy
But
singing
it's a
it.
good message.
Every time.
Yeah, I know PT has said that she doesn't feel like in our community we want to praise as much, just because we haven't found God on that deeper level, or like found just like a reason why we want to praise God for what we've gone through. Like we almost just live too cushy of a life, and we haven't really taken that faith for ourselves, which I think that's very true.
Right. And I guess this is more of we kind of got onto the music topic, like why is music good for our religion? But again, that after going to this concert, I think it definitely built us up, and we were way more motivated,
Yeah, the
because we
motivation.
wanted to be like them. So we want to come up to another level, which is we're comparing ourselves, but also that's a good thing. Like they're motivating us. We want to share the experience that was shared with us.
Yeah,
I think that's a
and
good thing.
that's definitely one of the things I was going to talk about for like a good way to combat burnout, is to kind of remind yourself why you were passionate about this in the first place, or why you wanted to do that. And I think Maverick City was very much that for all of us.
Yes, I totally agree. So I guess
Yes.
now after the Maverick City concert, like how, like towards the end of the year, I know we were still like kind of burnt out.
Yeah.
But where were you at in like your your relationship with God, where you were at with wanting to lead music and whatnot?
Okay, so I was definitely burnt out. But I feel like I definitely wasn't as much as others. Because well, I do feel like I underwent the realization that it wasn't for me, that it's for God, or that it's not for, like, yeah, that's not for me, it's not for them, it's for God.
Right.
So I don't have to worry about what those discouraging people might think. But I also know I was still burnt out, in a sense of like, yeah, I'm just. We've played this song a million times, and no one wants to sing right now, and no one wants to do this. We're all trying to study for finals, and yet I'm stuck here planning this
Right.
Yeah.
chapel music, and using that mentality of like I'm stuck here, I have to do this was destructive. Because I know, like I said, whenever I'm by myself, if I can just play music, it's always a spiritual high for me.
Yes.
So I don't do it enough, saying that as well. But just doing the same thing over and over and over, while it may seem easy, it's also just puts you right on track to burn out from doing that thing. So I feel like it would have been better to be able to add in new songs, or to be able to, or to want to bring in people that aren't usually up front to sing. But at the same time, it's so much easier to just ask the same people
Right.
to do the same 20 songs. And so I wasn't very into it. I wasn't very looking forward to it when the time would roll around for us to do a chapel or vespers or whatever other program it may be. But I always knew that when I keep it not so much as a program, and I just did it and did the jam session, just pulled out the guitar at maybe a vespers where there wasn't supposed to be
Right.
music
Those are always
playing,
fun.
and we
Those are
just
the
did
best,
it,
yeah.
is way better. So while I feel like it's very hard to do that for everything, I feel like it could be nice to just be able to improv more and be able to do that with everything. Just go with it and just run with it.
So, do you think experiencing burnout is like an okay thing? Like,
I would say so. I think burnout shows you that, at least I feel like it showed me that I've done a good job, but it was now time to try something new,
right.
do another ministry. That's why I was very excited to be student chaplain, because then I could be a part of every ministry, so that
Right.
not one thing would just get burnt out. That if I was going to get burnt out of one thing, which I would say would be very hard to do because I'm in so much, but I'm just like ankle deep in everything instead of up over my head in one thing,
Yeah.
that it's a lot less hard to get burnt out because of that. And not everything is in a place where it feels like it's resting on my shoulders or anything. Like, there's the leader of the group that I know I can trust, and I hope to be there if they ever need me, so that they can ask me, and so they don't get burnt out. So it's just not like a never-ending cycle of students, because that's not something we want, just to think like, oh, well, there's going to be another student next year, so if they get burnt out, like, it's fine, because that's pretty detrimental to someone's mental health.
Right. And I think. Sorry, you go
Oh,
ahead.
I was gonna say. So you talked a lot about how some of the criticism was getting to you. Do you how do you think that kind of affected the overwhelming feeling of burnout?
I mean, I think that's why I talk about it so much, is because it was the main contributor. Just thinking like, why am I doing this? Yeah, it's like you said earlier. Why, like, thinking back of why you started it, and seeing if that's still something you really care about, and if that's something you still align yourself with, and if it is, then you kind of get that motivation to keep going, and if it's not, then it's always a good thing to communicate that someone else might need to take your shift, and someone
Right.
else might
Yeah.
need to take that over. Wait, what was your question again?
Just about the criticism from others and how that kind of affects the state. Because I know for myself, when I was leading chapel, it was very discouraging putting all this work into something. Something that really taught me, though, was before I go to criticize someone, I try and think of like a way I would do it better to give constructive criticism. And if I can't think of something better, I keep my mouth shut.
Right. That's fair.
Right. I think a lot of people need to have that
It's,
mentality
Yeah.
Good lesson.
as well. Any listeners, if you feel like someone's doing something wrong, figure out how to tell them nicely how to do it right, and not to tell them they're doing it wrong. Just show them how to do it right, or maybe see from their perspective why they're doing what they're doing, because then you might be like, okay, that makes total sense. Come in with an open mind, because I know every single person that was criticizing us could not do a better job
Yeah.
in that moment than what
Right.
we were doing.
And I just want to say, even though I guess I'm kind of like biased, but like even though we were burnt out and we weren't feeling the best while we were playing, man, we still did a really good job.
Right.
I mean, at
Absolutely,
the end of the
yeah.
day, we were still like doing the songs, and we'd get down to our practices, and we'd show up to what we were asked to be at. And I think that's a really important thing to note, because like even though there's so much, like no matter what group you are, like if you're marketing, I don't know, music,
music blessings,
Blessings,
community service,
like,
vespers.
it's still like the thought that counts, like we're still getting down to what we need to do in the long run. And I guess it's easier for me to say, and I don't know what it is for other people, but criticism is just criticism. I mean, if you don't take it literal, then it doesn't affect you.
Yeah.
And as much as I could get mad in the moment or whatever, like in the long run, like I'm still enjoying my time playing. Like I love my team. I loved having the ability to play my guitar, because it's something I'd like to do more at home, but I just don't have the free time to, because I have homework or I have after school activities, right? And so I just feel like whenever I'm playing the guitar, I'm just vibing, honestly. I'm in my own bubble when I'm
only
playing.
thing in your mind.
Right.
Is that the low?
Mhm.
Uh-oh.
Low power.
Low power. Maybe we'll just have to make this 2 parts.
Or 30
That's
minutes.
fair.
Or 30 minutes. But yeah, I know I used to really let the criticism get to me, but just the idea that, like, if people aren't putting themselves out there, they have no right to tear you down for putting yourself out there.
Right.
And that's, I don't want to say disregard people's opinions, but at a certain point, people that are in leadership positions and have been in your shoes are not going to put you down for trying, because they've been there. And people that just don't know how much it takes are going to be more critical, I'd say.
Right.
Yep. That's like what I said, is that everyone that was criticizing couldn't
Yeah.
do a better job than what we were doing anyways. So while, yeah, if someone that was criticizing could learn how to play guitar better than me, they could. But in that moment, they didn't know how to play
I'd love to see you try.
at all.
I'd love
Yeah.
to see you
So
try.
Yeah,
when you think about
absolutely.
it that way, like, hey, you are putting yourself out there, you're doing the thing, and if someone's going to criticize you that can't even do it themselves, then
Right.
who are they to criticize
And
you
I'm
for that?
also, I know when we both kind of experienced this burnout around the same time, like sophomore year, end of sophomore year, I'm wondering how much of us being extremely young leaders factored into that. Because normally
Right.
leadership in the school is the juniors and seniors, but a high majority of campus ministries
This
our
year,
sophomore year was sophomores.
Us.
It was
and
us.
Even
yeah.
now,
even now, it's
half and
it's
half.
half.
It's half and half.
The majority of our leaders now are sophomores. I mean, chapel team, which is not a bad
That's
thing at
true.
all.
No, it's a good thing.
It's a great
but-
thing, because we're getting younger people to become leaders. But at the same time, it puts stress on us, because we're new to it,
Yeah.
right? It's not something for chapel team for. I'm not dissing them by any means, but they're a lot younger than us, and they haven't experienced what it's fully like to. I mean, they're just sophomores, right? And they haven't experienced to the fullest of level like what we maybe have experienced. And I guess, like Tori said, it's a learning curve.
It's
for
a
them.
learning curve, yeah.
Right.
And they're doing a great job.
They're doing a great job.
But also, we can always do better.
I'm so happy I stepped down. I think
Mhm.
it was time. They're doing great things.
Mhm.
I'm very excited about where it's going.
Right.
But yeah, I think that also factors into it a little bit is because I feel like when you're getting criticism from the older students that, I don't know, I sometimes feel like criticism from older students hits a little more than like the people
Hits
that are on
different,
like
yeah.
the same level as
Mhm.
you. So it's
Right.
that's a little different aspect to it as well.
Well, I want to end before the
Before my computer dies.
dies. But I guess the last thing is you had mentioned like backing down from your position, and one thing that as leaders, or what we're told is if you're not in the right mindset, then you're not going to be able to share your talents to the fullest,
Yeah.
right? Something that our Mick and Tori ask us before the school years even starts is where are you at with God, and where's your mindset at right
Yeah.
now? And I fully agree, because if we have troubles in our life, or we have struggles that we're going through and we're trying to do something, it's not gonna work out in the way we want to, and we're not gonna be able to lead like we should be. So I think stepping down from your position, whether you're a leader or whether you're one of the helpers or students or whatever, or part of one of the teams, like taking a break is okay. I mean, that's how you get past being burnt out.
Yeah. Nothing is a life sentence. If you aren't enjoying it anymore, it's okay to pass it on. I do have a couple tips here that I found off the internet, because where else would I find anything? A couple things it said was just practice self-care. I know this has been very helpful for me, just like taking breaks. There was a one point Tori was like, you have to let something fall off your plate. So I didn't study for a test, and you know what? It was fine. It turned out all to be okay. So sometimes maybe putting off your homework or other responsibilities and just taking a couple hours for yourself will be more beneficial in the long run. Say no. Don't overcommit yourself. I know we all have problems doing that, but it's a very important skill. Just learn to say no and just find purpose in what you're doing. Just always go back to finding that passion.
Yeah.
Your reason why.
Cool.
That's good.
Well,
That's really good.
Anything else?
no. Well, thank you, Jacob,
Yes.
for coming to talk to us
of
about
course.
your experience in campus ministries, and we hope that if you're a student watching, that you don't get burnt out as fast as we did.
Amen.
But I'd like to add just a few things before we end. The reason why we skipped last week is because we had some technical
Difficulty.
So
difficulties.
many technical difficulties.
and so we're getting this one out late, but we're going to try and do our best to come out with podcasts on time. And but we'll just see where that leads us. So thank you for listening to us.